What is up, guys? How we doing? How we doing? We got 2 new subscribers yesterday. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you for your support and welcome to the team. Today we're going to talk about Terrifier 3. Now, I just want to warn you off the bat, Terrifier 3 is a very graphic movie, so I'm going to talk about some graphic things in this video. So just a fair warning there. I've recorded this video like 6 times and it keeps end up being too long. I know I'm going to get dunked on for my take, but here it goes. So I reviewed Terrifier 1 and 2 quite a while back. It actually ended up being over an hour, but it was actually well received. And basically, to recap, number 1 sucks, number 2 better, but still had some things holding it back. But I was curious enough in the lore introduced in number 2 to check out number 3, and then number 3 came out, made all these, waves on the internet for being like the bloodiest and best one yet and whatnot. So I was intrigued, and it's now available to stream for free with the 7-day free trial on Screambox if you're interested. Otherwise, you can rent it or purchase it. So let's start off with the positives. The positives are Sienna continues to be one of the most badass final girls I think we've ever seen. She's just a badass. She's a well-written character. I think they did a good job at dealing with her PTSD in a unique way here. The practical effects just get better and better with every movie. The kills get more creative. Like, they're really, like, everything looks so real. It's crazy. And the little bit of lore that we do get added, I do like. I do enjoy. And I think the story that's being built up here is very interesting. And that's honestly about it. I know people are going to dunk on this take, but the fact is this movie is almost 2.5 hour longs, and story wise, Art comes back, Sienna and him fight, her cousin falls down to hell. That's what happens in an almost 2.5 hour long movie, story wise. Like, for an hour and 45 minutes, Art and Sienna aren't even in the same room. And yes, if you're somebody that's just here for the kills, I could see you very much enjoying this movie. But after the second one, I was really looking forward to expanding on the lore and what we got. And I just thought that Sienna and Art would have more scenes together, more fights, more battles, more interaction. And instead, the first half of the movie, well, the first 3 quarters, is Art just going around killing people, which is fine and dandy, but then the last 30 minutes are where we finally get, Sienna and Art to interact and fight, and a little bit added lore. And there's a little bit of lore, I guess you could say, added at the beginning, sort of. And yeah, the kills remain to be good and whatnot, but I don't know why these movies aren't clicking for me, but the honest opinion I have is each one I have watched and I have just been disappointed. I hated the first one. I think the first one is one of the worst horror movies ever. The acting, the writing, the dialogue, everything is just terrible. The kills are good, sure, but 6 minutes of your hour-and-a-half long movie is good. So it was just a terrible movie. The second movie, a lot better. They did a great job building up Jonathan and Sienna's character. It's just better. You get more world building. I love the little girl that comes in. She is so cool looking. I want to dress Persephone up like that for Halloween, but I cannot seem to find the top hat that acts as a ponytail, basically, and ponytail holder or whatever. And yeah, then in the third one, since you have already been introduced to these characters, there's really not a lot of character building you can do. And in fact, I kind of feel like they go backwards with Jonathan's character. His character kind of does a 180 after all the growth that he had in the second one. And, you know, because in the second one, he was the one that was all worried about art and the lore, and that Sienna was Valkyrie, and that basically she's an angel and Art's a demon, and she's the only one that can stop him. And in this movie, he's like, I don't believe you. I just want to move on. He just, I don't know. They didn't utilize his character well here. And every other character that we're introduced to in this movie, their lines and their acting are horrible. I don't know how to say it nicely. They're horrible. Like, if we're going to get introduced to her aunt and uncle, we should do a better job building up their characters and whatnot so we care when they die. But instead, it's like, hurry up, get to Art, hurry up, get to Sienna and what she's dealing with. These characters don't fucking matter. And their dialogue sucks and their acting sucks. The couple we meet that gets killed by the chainsaw, their acting sucks. Especially the girl. But my God, the Shaggy dude, their acting is terrible. Alright? Like, all three of these movies suffer from the same thing. Even in the second one. Bad writing, bad acting, and just questionable dialogue. And as much as I love the kills, I don't think people are going to agree with me on this one. But as much as I love the kills, as much as I love the practical effects, how real they look and whatnot, Damien not knowing when the character should die makes the kill, even, no matter how realistic it looks, it breaks the illusion. When, like I had talked about in number 2, the bedroom scene, that girl would not have lived that long. After everything that was done to her, there is no way she would have stayed alive to go, Mom? That would not happen. There's another girl who literally gets her heart ripped out and she's still alive. And the characters, while the practical effects are amazing, they're staying alive too long. And so the best example I can think of, well, honestly, all the kills are kind of that way in this movie. The chainsaw deaths. I had very different reactions to each person that got killed by the chainsaw. The girl was completely taken out of it because the girl would not live as long as she lived. Like, there's a payoff moment where she's talking about how she wants to look into the eyes of evil and know what that feels like, and so she does after getting carved up by a chainsaw, but she took too much damage, dude. Her HP would be at negative 100. She would not be alive. There's no way she would be able to look Art in the eye and comprehend what's going on, let alone scream when he finishes her off. And that just took me out of the kill. I actually recorded my reaction to that scene and paused it and just went like, Damien, like, she would be dead. She would be dead right now. So, like, now the illusion is broken. But then the guy, when he gets killed, that was effective and believable because he actually died when he was supposed to. He didn't die when the hacksaw got all the way up to here, like in the first one. He died when he was supposed to. And then the carnage that happened afterwards was effective in making your jaw drop with how freaking graphic it was. But when somebody is just kept alive longer than they should be just to keep torturing them, it takes me out of it. It just does. Like with the rat scene, as creative as that kill is, there is a giant tube that goes down this woman's throat, hammered in, and you wouldn't even need the rats. You would die. You wouldn't be able to breathe. That would kill you in itself before the rats even made it to you. You know? Santa Claus getting his face frozen and then smashed in. That would likely kill you too. So, like, these characters not, and that's the one practical effect moment I don't think looks good, is when Santa gets his face hit and his one eyeball is still moving around. I think that moment looks a little bit wonky. But so the kills, while being awesome, I don't enjoy them because it's like, how is this character still alive? That is ridiculous. With how realistic it looks, it can still be ruined by the character not matching that they need to die when they're supposed to die for this to be a realistic kill. If they're cut into 17 pieces and still screaming, now, no, it breaks that illusion. I'm being a little bit exaggeratory, but that's what I'm trying to say, is like, past a certain point, it's like, why is this person still alive? They would go into shock and die by now, let alone vomit. Like, if you want to be realistic, if people are going through these insane amounts of torture, they would be throwing up. They would be passing out. They would be dying of cardiac arrest, like going into shock. And I know it's like, well, where's the fun in that? But that's, you want it to be grounded and realistic, right? Like, I wouldn't consider this franchise to be campy. Art is silly, and he has silly moments. But with how graphic the material is, this franchise is trying to horrify you. I would say that it does take itself seriously. I would not consider these to be cheese movies at all. And kills like that, like, unless it's just kills and what shit like that only work in like cheese movies. You know, then you don't overanalyze the kills. But the whole point here is we're trying to make them as realistic as possible. And the sound and the acting is not matching the practical effects. If I don't know how to word it any better than that. You know what I mean? Like, girl gets her arm taken off. The bedroom scene. That was my main problem with that. Is there is no way that girl, by the time Art comes back with the salt, she's dead. She's dead. She's going into shock and dying. You got to start slow. You can't just rip off all of somebody's limbs and then there's still a lot, like. But let's put that aside. Let's put that over-analyzing aside. The writing sucks. It just does. The writing sucks, man. Hey, we've had enough with this guy in the bar. Let's throw him over here. Let's pick up this giant bag that's clearly like 50 pounds of metal and weapons and hand it to him. Seems like a great idea. Hey, that's not our Santa that's working there. And how did Art know that the kids were all going to come at the same time and grab all the weapons, resulting in grabbing the bomb and blowing up? Which leads me to my next thing that we're going to discuss. Everybody has a line that they think shouldn't be crossed in horror movies, or has a thing that they see in horror movies that is too much for them. For me, it's sexual assault scenes. And yeah, child killing scenes. But the reason why they're done, like if you look at I Spit on Your Grave, The Last House on the Left, Revenge, the reason why they show it is to make you feel an absolute hatred for the person committing this heinous act, so when they get their just desserts, you feel all the more satisfied. The problem here is, and that's the same reason if a movie does that, if the movie pushes the boundaries and does kill a kid or show their mutilated body afterwards, it's usually to make you hate that character, so when they get their just desserts, after seeing how depraved they are that they won't even spare a child, you're satisfied, right? But that doesn't work here because people like Art the Clown. People like the character of Art the Clown. Him doing that to a kid doesn't make people like Art the Clown any less. In fact, that's one reason I think I'm annoyed with this franchise, is people are putting Art the Clown up there with Jason, Jigsaw, Freddy, Chucky, all of the greats. And to that I say no. Like, no fucking way is he up there with him. Jason would kick his ass. What are you talking about? You've had 3 movies, one of which was absolutely terrible. One was decent, and the third, in my eyes, was empty. Pretty bad. And so, no, just because he's depraved and it's graphic does not instantly make it a good movie. But to go to my point, the child killing does not make somebody hate art. Well, I mean, I do. I don't like his character. I'm annoyed with his character, so maybe there's more people out there like me. But most people enjoy Art's character, and they just know that he's just depraved, and that doesn't make them hate him. So that means it purely exists for shock value. It's, hey, our audience is desensitized after the first two movies. What can we do that we haven't done before to shock the audience? And that was the answer. Kill kids. But yeah, so it was pointless. You could take that out. It wouldn't affect the movie. It's not that I'm offended by it. I like pushing the boundaries of cinema. That's good, but they didn't push the boundaries of cinema. Hundreds and thousands of movies have killed kids and shown the body afterwards. It was included for no reason other than shock value, and that's what this franchise is. Shock value over good writing and storytelling. And look, Friday the 13th, how many of them are there? Like 10, 12? And there's only like 2 that are good. Like, it's not bad to have bad characters, bad writing, bad dialogue, but whenever you have a franchise that's trying to be this horrifying and takes itself this seriously, yes, with the story that we've been given, I would rather them lean into that. We're actually getting badass lore here. This has potential to be awesome. And I am interested enough still after the third one to watch the fourth one, because it looks like Sienna is probably going to hell, and we're most definitely going to get some more lore. But if the fourth one is just bad writing, shocking kill, bad writing, shocking kill, barely any lore added here, I give up. I give up, because the franchise has so much potential, and the story that is being set up is so unique and cool that if they would lean into that and up the writing a little bit, I think that this would be genuinely good. But I just don't think it is. I just don't think it is, man. That's just my honest opinion of it. The writing sucks. Any character that isn't Sienna or Jonathan or Art is just the worst acted, worst written, I could care less, terrible dialogued character. And even when you get the final battle with Sienna and Art, there's still insane writing choices to me. You know? Like, why is Vicky basically making Art look like her henchman at this point? Wasn't it the other way around? Now Art just looks like a bitch back in the corner while Vicky's doing the work. Why in the world would Vicky allow Sienna to open a present and not put 2 and 2 together that this giant box that probably is heavy considering it's a fucking big ass sword, how would she be fooled into that? That was a lazy way to write that, man. And then my biggest complaint, which just made me furious during the movie, when Gabby is falling into hell, Sienna grabs the sword to give her the handle to hold on to and is holding the blades trying to lift her up. I rewinded it. There's like a round 10 to 15 pound table that's like 3 feet long, 2.5 feet long, that she could have easily put down there. That would have been a better handle for both of them. Would it have held Gabby's weight? I don't know. Probably better than a sword, yeah. So that was a writing choice just to make the sword go down in the hole. Like, Sienna went to go get the sword at one point. Why didn't we see that? Why didn't we get a scene of that? That would have been cool. But instead, no, we're more focused on Art blowing up kids in the mall, because shock factor, I think this is a franchise that in 10 years, if it were to end now, you know, with the direction they're going, if they do up the writing, I do think this has potential. And that's why I'm frustrated as a viewer, because I'm interested in the story side of it. Yes, the kills are good, but an hour 45 was spent on that, and then we got 30 minutes of action and a little bit of lore when I wanted more story. And if if they lean into the story, I think this has a lot of potential. And yeah, I think this will be a franchise. If this were to be the last one, which it isn't, it made too much money. But if this were to be the last one, I think in 10 years this will be a franchise people will look back on and say it really wasn't that good. And then a lot of people will be, you know what? You're right. I've always thought that. I just never said it. Now, with that being said, if you've made it this far in the video and you haven't just disliked it and whatever, I will say I am grateful that this trilogy exists. Why? Because people are taking note. People are taking note that gore and shock value sells. That violence and gore is selling. You know, like, art made a shit ton of money. So, this is going to have a domino effect on horror movies. Horror movies, I bet you, will start to up the gore and whatnot. And for sickos like me that grew up on Saw and Final Destination and Hostel and those types of movies, I'm happy about that. So, I am grateful for Damien Leone pushing the boundaries, especially with what you can do with practical effects. And I think the domino effect that will create will be awesome. I should have probably put that at the beginning of my video because somebody that dislikes my opinion will be gone by now. But I am happy this franchise does exist. And I will eat my words. In the second movie, or after watching the first two movies, I pointed out that for some reason, all the girls get like long, torturous death scenes, but the guys just get a quick stab in the neck or shot, and then that's it. Apparently, a lot of people complained about that because Damien made sure that mostly guys were killed this time. So I will eat my words, Damien. I will retract it. I will eat my words. Nom nom. All right? But if in the fourth one you just go back to torturing women, I know you just did it because you were trying to prove a point. I'm just kidding. I'm sure Damien's a good guy, but I did want to take those words back. But yeah, that's kind of it. That's kind of my review. I thought this one was empty. I felt like nothing happened. If you're just here to see Art kill some people, I think you'll be satisfied. I was hoping to get more out of the story, and I do think that the shock value of their decisions overshadows the bad writing in this movie and this trilogy, because they all suffer from bad writing. But also, I kind of dug the little like 80s soundtrack in the second one that kind of like reminded me of like Drive. It had like a weird 80s vibe to it, and that's not in this one, which I was kind of disappointed with. It oddly fit. And I do like the grainy style of it. Like, there's things about it that I just see it as someone, not a hater, but as someone that sees so much potential just being wasted if you just bumped up the writing a little bit and leaned into the lore. A lot of people think that Damien is this creative genius that has all the movies planned out in his head. I don't think so. I think he's making them up as he goes. His writing is not giving me a reason to not think that. So, if you get enjoyment out of this trilogy, I'm happy for you. I hate to be the grump that says I don't, but I am happy this franchise exists. I will give it one more shot because I am very curious in the next movie. But like I said, if the next movie is 2.5 hours long, this one is better paced because of the fact that Art just goes on a killing spree for those hour and 45 minutes. But they just didn't do anything this movie. They didn't know what to do with the aunt and uncle. They didn't really know how to build onto Sienna's character, especially Jonathan's, and he's not dead, by the way. And 2 is definitely still the better one. So my rating, I've been doing a 10-point system. I'm actually going to change to 5 because I've noticed a lot of my movies are ending up on the same, basically ending up in the same spot. I gave number 1 a 2 out of 10. I was being too generous. It gets a 0.5 out of 5. I will give, that ends up being the same mathematically, doesn't it? No, that's a 1 out of 10. Okay. I gave 2 a 6 out of 10, so I'll give it a 3 out of 5. And then this, I would give a 2 out of 5, probably a 4 out of 10. So the kills are great, but I think that just overshadow. If it's always going to be, how can we top this scene? And kills first, story later. I don't think I'm going to like this franchise. I don't know. You know, like, I'm a big Saw fan, and you could argue half that franchise is bad writing, and I wouldn't argue with that. So maybe it's just me getting older, because I have rewatched the Saw franchise lately, and it's like 1 through 3 are decent, but 4 through 6 are so forgettable. I do love the 7th one. I don't care what you say. I don't care what you say, dude. The 7th one is awesome. Jigsaw, spit in the face. Spit in the face. Spiral was all right, and then Saw 10 was fantastic. There's talks that Saw might end up in Blumhouse's hands, and that would just be the worst, because ain't no way. But yeah, we're going on a tangent now. Terrifier has a lot of potential. I'm glad it exists because of the domino effect it's going to have on the industry. If you like the first 2, I think you'll like this one. If you haven't checked out the franchise, would I recommend it? Not if you're just a casual horror movie fan. No. This franchise is brutal. It does leave you horrified. And I will give it that. That for the rest of the day, those images stuck in my head. Like, this is not a movie you want to watch stoned. This is not a movie that, like, it's graphic, and it does like your jaw. You got 2 types of reactions. Either people just burst out laughing because of how uncomfortable it makes them, or their jaw drops. I don't know. I'm both. It depends on the day. But this one made my jaw drop a little bit, and the bedroom scene did too. So, yeah, I guess I'm a jaw dropper when it comes to this franchise. The images will stick with you. If you don't do well with gore, I would not check this out. If you do, I would recommend giving it a watch. Yeah, I would recommend giving the trilogy a watch. I just wouldn't rewatch it, Like, it's something to experience, but the practical effects, as good as they are, when you leave the actress or actor alive way longer than they should be, that takes you out of the kill too. So you got to start thinking about that, Damien. You got to, like, your goal is to make the kill as realistic as possible, and that makes it less realistic, So I couldn't even really enjoy the kills. I loved the concept of them, and then the kid kills to me were just like, yeah, these are pointless. There's no reason to put that in your movie other than shock value. It didn't add anything. It didn't make you hate art. If you were a big fan of art, it's not like you changed your mind on him because of that. You're just, wow, this guy's sick and depraved. It wasn't pushing the boundaries of cinema. So it was just a pointless shock factor over good writing is what this franchise is. And if you enjoy it, cool. I'm not trying to down anybody that does it. I just don't. I guess I just want more. I want brutality and gore with good storytelling, But I did say I loved the monkey. But the monkey didn't take itself seriously. It was comedic. I do wish they used less CGI, but, even though art is silly, this is a franchise that is taking itself seriously, yes. So I expect the kills to be realistic. I expect the writing to be better, And with the lore that they have given us, there is so much potential there to be a great franchise, and it's only mediocre. And I am partially annoyed, yes. I do think that has to do with my viewing experience, that art is automatically put in the category with Jason and Freddy and all of them. No, sir. Nope, 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 nope. Nope. Jason would whoop his ass, fight me on it. Freddy would probably lose because Freddy's a bitch. I've always thought that. There you go. There's a hot take for you. But, and Jigsaw would kick his ass too. So, yeah, I don't know. I wish I could say I like these movies because on paper, like I said, I wrote a paper in college about these wanting more gory movies. And on paper, I should love these, but I just feel disappointed. That's just the honest truth. I know people ain't going to like this take, but that's just the honest truth, man. Anyways, I love you guys. Thank you for watching.